Good evening everybody, Stephen Howson, and tonight I'm here to talk to you about Mourinho. Now, I did this video, bing, 2 weeks ago, maybe, a week ago, something like that, I don't know, about a week and a half ago maybe, talking about the assumption that Mourinho was coming and what would happen and what I wanted to see in this, that and the other. So check that out if you don't mind, and then come back to this and I'll carry on. So, there's been speculation all week and definitely been people putting things into the press on purpose. Some people think that United haven't got anything sorted out with Mourinho, and we've just started flapping because we've been hearing talks that he was off to Inter Milan. And then a representative from Inter Milan has come out today and said we'd love to have Mourinho back, but he's very happy and he's going to Manchester. So basically confirming a lot of the reports that have said he's coming now. I think I saw something in the Express this morning which detailed what his contract was going to be. There's also been a leak about his contract about a week ago as well. So I'm working on the basis that Mourinho's coming in and it's in the summer. And I don't understand why that we wouldn't get rid of Van Gaal now. If the decision's been made that he's gone, then why prolong the inevitable? That I don't understand. There's some theories behind why that would be the case with the club. I'm not sure I believe any of them. I understand some of them, and some of them do make sense. But for me, I think I don't know, in all honesty, is the absolute bottom line. I think that's just what's happening. Van Gaal's been told he's good to the end of the season, and then on your bike. Mourinho starts in July with whatever, probably Europa football by the looks of things at the moment. So, what does it mean for Manchester United with Mourinho coming in? So, I'm pretty open-minded on it, to be honest. I've said he's not my choice several times, but that's because I don't really have a choice. I'm saying there is nobody qualified to take this job. And unlike the City fans who've just declared Pep Guardiola the Messiah, the greatest thing since anything, and are expecting him to just walk in and sweep all before him. There's obvious flaws in Guardiola, which is why I said I wasn't too keen on Guardiola. There's obvious flaws in Mourinho. There's obvious flaws in every single candidate that's been linked with the Manchester United job, especially the likes of Giggs, who just complete hole in his experience. And I don't think a single candidate stands out to me as the one. There's a compromise with whoever you decided to go with. If you go with Ryan Giggs, well, you're compromising on his experience. If you go with Guardiola, then you're compromising on his Premier League experience, and he's never really built a team, and I'm not quite sure that he's got the stomach for the fight. Mourinho made him quit when he just won 3 titles and a treble, and that was his own boyhood club, and he walked out on his boyhood club. Then why is he going to give a flying fuck about your club? And Mourinho is a bit of a cunt. He's got mad antics, like he pokes people in the eye. He just says banana shit at press conference. He wears his players out because he works them that hard. But he wins you trophies, and he's got this 9-year home record. And then you've got Simeone, who's just built a phenomenal Atletico side on fuck all money. But he don't speak English. He's never managed in the Premier League, and we don't know how he'd cope. This, that, and the other. And then you're like looking at some of the managers in Italy, and you're like, I don't know. And the one I actually really wanted, the one that was top of my list, was Ancelotti, and he's gone by Munich. So that's that. So Mourinho, if he's coming, if he's the one, which seems like is the most blatantly most happening thing that we could ever be, is, do you know what all this speculation reminds me of? Is, do you remember when City announced Pep Guardiola was going to be coming in as their manager? The week before, there was loads of little stories, wasn't there, that United had met him in Paris and this, that and the other, and then it turned out, we didn't meet him in Paris and this, that and the other. This smacks of that. The interlink smacks of just those little reports that come out to try and throw people off the scent, like, oh shit, it's not as much of a done deal as possible, he might still go Inter. But he was coming to, with Guardiola's case, he was coming to City the whole time, and it might have even been in place for 4 years. So I think Mourinho is coming. I'm going to go and stake my hat on it that I'm pretty sure Mourinho, come the 1st of July, will be a Manchester United manager, come what may. So what does that mean for us going forward? I don't know. As I was saying, I'm pretty open-minded to what he can do, because the big redeeming factor about Mourinho was that he turned teams invincible, and he turned their home grounds into a fucking fortress, didn't he? That 9-year home record, which spanned several clubs, is ridiculously good. Ridiculously good. Undefeated in the league for 9 years. That is phenomenal. He definitely knows how to turn his home ground into a fortress. And if he gets on with a player, that player will fight for him and bleed for him and do anything that he asks. But he does seem to piss off a certain percentage of the players that he comes in. No, I'm not asked about that. I think the players are a bit too pampered anyway. So I do think if a manager comes in and he's got this totalitarian outlook and he goes, listen, it's this way, and a couple of the players are like, I don't fucking fancy that. Oh yeah, there's the door. Don't let it get on the arse on the way out. Because I do think that the manager should be the man that is in total control and the man that is implementing his vision onto that side. And Mourinho does have a vision. What confused me a little bit about everybody was that people that saying Van Gaal was not playing the Manchester United way was the same people that was demanding Mourinho. Mourinho is an extremely pragmatic manager. And people always point to his Real Madrid team that wiped the floor with everybody and got record goals and this, that, and the other. That was a Real Madrid team that had Kaká and Ronaldo amongst others. We've not got that. And Mourinho will do whatever it takes to win in terms of he will play 4-5-1, he will play defensive, he will park the bus, he will go long ball, he will do the diving and the cheating and the stuff like that. That is what he does. He is an extreme winner. And you can't knock it because it's quite effective. But the same people that was demanding Louis van Gaal play attacking football when he was trying to be pragmatic are a little bit hypocritical now if they don't point out the same thing in Mourinho, because I'm certain he's going to do it. I'm not too asked, in all honesty, about playing a certain style of play. I like to see us win. I'd like to see us keep going for it all the time. And I do think under Van Gaal we pressed, we just didn't have the movement. We had the ball in the opposition third, we just didn't have that final bit of movement or bit of spark to see us over the line. Now, if we're winning games 2-3-0 under Mourinho and we are attacking, I don't give a shit whether it's with wingers or it's not with wingers, however it is. Because Sir Alex Ferguson did not play 4-4-2 in every game. Sir Alex Ferguson mixed it up to a massive degree. His famous 1999 side obviously played 4-4-2 and it played it with effective wingers. But in the 2000s we played 4-5-1, we played 4-3-3, we played 4-2-3-1. He mixed it up all over the place. And he didn't always play with attacking wingers. In fact, we've not really had any great wingers that do crossing since Valencia in 2010. So that's a bit of a myth that United have always had this certain style of play. We've not. It's just an absolute fact that we've not. And anyway, so that's one aspect there that we're looking at with Mourinho. Will he play the United way? Personally, not that arsed. The United way for me is winning, and that's what I want to see us do, and I want to see us have the confidence to win. Now, the big thing everybody's talking about is youth. And he's supposedly said in this 6-page love letter, which was meant to have actually been a 10-page love letter, if we're believing some reports. He's said that he's going to change his ways and he's going to promote youth and this, that and the other. Well, if he is, then cool. And that's all I've got to say. There's no evidence that he's going to do that based on his past performances. And Chelsea did have a cracking academy that he could have promoted from. It's not like there wasn't the lads there to do it at his time at Chelsea. But maybe Roman Abramovich hadn't stressed how important that was to him. Maybe he was just like, no, sign big shirt sellers, and I'm not asked about the academy lads. If they're good enough and you play them, whatever, but I need you to win. So maybe that's what it was. At Manchester United, it will obviously be different, and he will be expected to keep that run of 3,782 games going, where we have got a youth product in the startings in the matchday squad. So if he continues that tradition, cool, I'm fine with that. Sir Alex neglected that tradition in the last 5-6 years of his tenure at United. Louis van Gaal's brought it back in a massive way, given more debuts and more minutes to academy products than Fergie did for a long time. So if Mourinho's even just maybe in between what Fergie and Van Gaal's done recently, then happy days. But as I said, there's no evidence that he's going to do that. The longevity. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that there's going to be anybody walks through the door and does 25 years as the manager, wins 13 league titles, couple of Champions Leagues, and then walks off into the sunset all happy. It's very unlikely that that's going to happen. near impossible. And that's one of the issues that I've got with Ryan Giggs taking over, or potentially taking over. Ryan Giggs' reputation amongst United fans can only go down. Can you imagine if it was Giggs in charge, and some of the shit that we've seen Van Gaal getting this season, and some really disrespectful shit that's been said about him? Yeah, the team's not performing, but there's a line, I think, isn't there, of respect that people often go too far with. I don't ever want to see that for Ryan Giggs, because I know that there's elements of our fan base that would go way too fucking far with it and just be absolute cunts with it. And I don't want to see that with Giggs. Giggs is a club legend who is on course for having a statue one day. But if you imagine if he takes over and does 12, 18 months, 2 years, and it ends up like it is now, when, in the grand scheme of things, as shit as it's been, we are still fifth in the league. It's not like we're in relegation, and people are losing their fucking minds. Can you imagine that being Ryan Giggs, the target of this abuse? That doesn't sit right with me as a United fan, to be doing that to someone, and to be doing that to a club legend. And I think it's inevitable if Giggs took over, especially with the experience that he's got. What we were doing if we were appoint Giggs is blindfolding ourselves, spinning around on a spot, throwing a dart and hoping that you can hit bullseye. And the chances of it happening are so slim. You're probably not even going to hit the board, are we? Let's face it. But that's what we're doing. We're hoping to hit a bullseye blindfolded after spinning round dizzy. That's how good Sir Alex was. That's how good Sir Matt was. And we're asking Giggs to emulate that or tarnish his reputation forever, because that's the only two options. There's no mediocre with United. There's no, yeah, he did all right with us. All right's going to be winning the league and doing fuck all in the cups. That's all right. I've seen us win the league in seasons and not even have a parade for it. That's how much we give a shit about it sometimes. We're just not asked. So the longevity thing with Jose Mourinho, he's going to do 3 years, isn't he? He ain't doing 10 years. Now, am I asked about that? I am a little bit to an extent. Because I don't see any progression. I don't see any plan in place. And that is the big issue at the club, I think, at the moment. I did another video about director of football. And I think that's the more important appointment over a manager. Because I think the club needs a direction and a plan. And if we can appoint a director of football at the same time as Mourinho, I'll be pretty fucking happy. Because then I'll know the director of football is probably thinking, well, he's going to be off in 2 to 3 years after he's flipped the table and pissed everybody off. Hopefully on the back of 1 or 2 titles as well. But that's what he's going to do. He's going to flip out and lose his mind and then leave. I doubt he's staying here for 10 years. I doubt he'll be here for 5 years. I reckon you got 3, 4 tops, even if he's successful. So as long as we get a director of football, we can start to plan the progression. And I just want to know that United have done due diligence with who we appoint, because it can be someone completely out of left field for me. It can be someone from the MLS. It can be someone from the Brazilian League. It can be someone from fucking Scotland or Wales or the Portuguese League. You don't know where these awesome managers are going to spring from next. All I want to know that United have done when they appoint someone is that we do it better than we did the last 2 times. Because the last time, Fergie went round to David Moyes' house, who didn't apply for the job, who didn't interview for the job. He didn't have to do a presentation to show that what he was planning on doing with Manchester United. Sir Alex Ferguson went round to his house and went, hey David, guess what? You're the new United manager. And Moyes even said himself, he didn't say yes, he just said, okay. He didn't accept the job. He was given the job, or he got the job. He didn't accept the job. He might not have even wanted the job. He just says, when United ask, you go. And it's as simple as that. Sir Alex told him he was United boss. Told him. Think about that. Told him. So he might not have even felt ready himself. Now, it's not really come out about the process of how Van Gaal was appointed. It just seems to be the club made a decision and Van Gaal was appointed. I've not heard whether he was interviewed. I've not heard whether he applied for the job. I've not heard anything amongst that. I've just heard that Louis Van Gaal was appointed, and then there was a meeting with Woodward and Giggs and Van Gaal, and then at that meeting, Giggs became the number 2. So we don't know if Van Gaal gave a presentation or was interviewed, but when you think about it, he was here to do a very specific job, because he wasn't here for the long term. He was here for 3 years, and he was retiring at the end of that 3 years, come what may. So when Van Gaal was appointed, it wasn't the most sensible appointment. I thought he was going to turn us around and be a lot more successful than he was. Maybe the fact that he's so close to retirement, he's not put as much into it as maybe he did at other clubs. So I think maybe it wasn't the best idea to appoint somebody like that. And now I think you've also got this short-termism with Mourinho's appointment as well, which I am 99% sure is happening. So if we can get a director of football and they can just make a sensible appointment, let's interview people, let's ask them to make presentations, let's list all the reasons why this guy's a good guy and right for the job, or the negative ones and why he's not right for the job, and then make a judgment call on it. But let's have a short list of 5 or 6 people and let's interview people, because that is how you're going to find out the best candidate. The best candidate might be Michael Appleton. The best candidate might be Paul Ince. The best candidate might be Steve Bruce. The best candidate might be any of these players, ex-players and managers. We just don't know. And that's where you have to assess what's the job that they're doing at the club they're at with the resources available to them in terms of money and squad. What's their philosophy? What's their ambition? Where do they see themselves taking the club? What would they do with Manchester United given the keys? All of these things need to be assessed and looked into. And once you've done that, then you can make an informed, sensible decision on a manager. I don't think a gut feeling of, he's good. I don't think flavour of the month, like possibly Pochettino is. I mean, maybe Pochettino is the real deal. He just feels like a flavour of the month. Ranieri, he might be the real deal. When you look back at his record with a bit of hindsight, you go, fucking Chelsea got rid of him well too soon. He's been a success virtually everywhere else, apart from with Greece. And what he's done with Leicester is amazing. But if we appointed Ranieri on the back of one season with Leicester, that doesn't feel like due diligence. That feels like flavour of the monthism. So I just want to see whoever comes next after Mourinho, because the day you appoint him, the clock's running on when he's going to go. So we have to have a succession plan lined up. One thing I will take my hat off to City with is Tixi Baristian has had a plan in his head, probably written down as well. 2012, if the rumours are to be believed, that they knew they was getting Guardiola in 2016. That meant when they won the league and with Mancini, they knew Mancini was going, this guy was coming, and then Pep Guardiola was coming in. Now, whatever my reservations are about Pep Guardiola, it seems to them that they've done their homework and they've got a plan in place. So whether the plan works or not, it doesn't matter, because they've got a plan. Having a plan that might not work is better than having no plan and just hoping for the fucking best. So I take my hat off to the City director of football and their team that's running Manchester City, because on the surface of things, even though I don't think he's going to be the raving success everybody expects him to be, at least that club can feel confident in what they're doing as a club. Manchester United don't give you that impression, do they? It feels like something happens at United and everyone fucking runs around going, what are we going to do? And that is not the way that a football club should be run. You want to see calm, composed, intelligent, well thought out decisions with the future goal in place. That's how I would like Manchester United to be run, and that is what I don't feel happens at the moment. So that's the few things I'm thinking is going to happen under Mourinho. On the last one that I didn't mention, success. Now, how can he be successful? Well, these two paths sitting right in front of us at the moment, isn't there? One is us being in the Europa League, one is us being in the Champions League. The Champions League window is very small, and we're not going to fit through it, I don't think. The Europa League is the one that looks ominous to us. And then apart from that, we've got come 7th, as long as Chelsea or whatever don't win the Champions League, because I think then there's connotations, isn't there? I don't think we're going to finish as far down as 7th or 8th, so I think it's pointless even talking about that. Let's just talk about Europa. So you've got Europa and you've got Champions League. Ideally we want to be in the Champions League. We're probably going to be in the Europa. That's a problem. No team's ever won the league when they've been in the Europa League, because it fucks you up. The travelling to Ukraine every other week, the mad Thursday, Sunday switch in the schedule. I'd love to do an analysis actually and figure out what the problem is with that, because it affects every team's league form who's in it. So Mourinho will be fighting uphill straight away when he comes in, unless we just completely disregard the competition and we play our under-21s in it, which probably wouldn't go down well with the money men at the board, so I don't expect that to happen. So what's going to be success for Mourinho? Because just getting into the top 4 is not success, is it? So that's the minimum expectation. and there's only so long you can go on with a minimum expectation. Can he win the league in his first go? Well, you go, Manchester City are going to go through a transitional period while they get used to Pep Guardiola's new style. It didn't really matter at Bayern Munich because there's only Bayern Munich. They're playing against themselves, essentially. They've bought everybody decent at Dortmund near enough. There's hardly anybody left. So what you're looking at with Dortmund and Bayern Munich is if Bayern Munich decide to win the league, they win the league. Simple as that. So he can implement his new system on Bayern Munich under a lot less scrutiny and a lot less pressure. The teams in 17th, 18th and 19th aren't going to have the same sort of fight that they are in the Premier League. That is what I think is going to really fuck him up. You're going to be under pressure from minute one. Every game's going to be intense, and the expectation of the City fans and the press. I hope the press give Guardiola the same sort of shit that they give LVG when he first came, because that's going to really cook him. So Manchester City, I think, are going to have a little bit of a wobble, similar to the wobble that they've had since they announced that he's coming. Just while they get used to his system. Once they get used to his system, they're going to be a very efficient team, I think. They've already got a lot of very good players, most of them on the wrong side of 28, so maybe they're not going to be the easiest to adapt to the system, but I'm sure he's going to be given a budget to sign whatever, and allegedly a lot of the Chinese investment money is on the back of certain players, Messi or Neymar, etc., being brought to Manchester City. So if he signs Messi, well, shit's about to get really fast. So you have to make them probably outside favourites for winning the league, I would have thought. And then you go, right, who else is there? Well, Liverpool are supposed to be winning the league next year, aren't they, according to all the papers? Because Klopp's just come in and done worse than Brendan Rodgers has done. But it's not his squad, so he's allowed to do that. You got to think, though, Liverpool will be in the top 5 next season, pushing for it and fighting for it. So they're going to be a problem. Arsenal, I don't know. Maybe they'll be hard, maybe they'll not. If they don't win the league this year, that's the best chance they've ever going to have, and I can see them just falling off completely. I can see Ozil or Sanchez being snapped up by a big European side, maybe Italy, maybe Spain, maybe Germany, and they'll be there or thereabouts. They just don't strike me as champions. If Leicester win the league, I think they're going to struggle. It would be amazing to think that they're going to win the league after nearly being relegated and then stick around in the top 4 with the squad that they've got, and now Champions League football and the pressure of trying to retain that and hit that height twice. Maybe they can do it, but I wouldn't have thought so. I would expect them to have probably dropped out. United are going to come into the top 4, but where are we going to finish in it? Because I think asking us to win the league if we've got Europa is too much of an ask, which leaves Tottenham. Next season, if Tottenham strengthen the way that they probably can do, especially if Levy lets one of the ones who's performed really well this season go for an extortionate amount of money, and they're allowed to replace them with a decent Premier League player that can come in and do a job for them, then Tottenham might be the real deal next season. Which is bananas to think, isn't it? That you're going to have Klopp, Guardiola and Mourinho, and Tottenham are in there smashing it. But based on what I've seen recently, the last 6-7 weeks or so, as it stands right now, Tottenham are my favourites for next season's Premier League, because I think the pressure's off them. And they're not going to be dealing with Europa, they'll be dealing with Champions League, which I think is a bit easier for them. So, I could be wrong, I could be chatting out my ass. It's not the first time, it will not be the last time. But that is what I think is likely to go down next year, and I think that's who you're going to be looking at. I think Leicester are very likely to fall off. I think the extra matches and the extra pressure that comes with retaining the league, because I do think they're going to go on and win it, is going to be too much for them. And I do think they're going to struggle to stay in the top 5. If they do, then fuck me. What a league we've got on our hands next season. You're looking at 6-7 teams right in the mixer. And that, I think, is going to be very hard to deal with for Guardiola, but also for Mourinho, trying to establish himself at Manchester United, where we do have issues with experience, where we do have issues with squad depth. We're going to have to spend a fuckload of money again this summer. And I think we're also going to have to promote some of these lads that are on the cusp of the first team. And it's going to be an interesting season either way, isn't it? So, I suppose I better give my verdict on whether I believe the reports that's come out. Yeah, I do. I do believe the reports that's come out from Inter Milan. I've been confident that Mourinho's coming to United for weeks now. It's basically the worst kept secret in football, isn't it? We're just waiting until it happens. The thing that's confusing it is Van Gaal's poor performances as a manager and the team's poor performances that are just seemingly allowed to happen. We wake up the day after a game expecting to see him sacked, and he's not sacked. Inexplicable. But there you go. Thank you for watching. Waffled on as usual, more than I expected to do. Drop me a like if you don't mind. Give us some thoughts on any of that shit that I've just waffled. I can't remember what I've just talked about. Mourinho, mostly, I think, and the Premier League for next season. I do like reading all your comments, and I reply to as many as I can, so please drop a comment in there. Subscribe if you've not already, and I'll see you soon. Laters.